Part 32.4, Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence with Hammad Syed Kanzolaman. Quran Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration, Chapter 32, verse 16 to 20. The profound, spiraling narrative of Surah As-Sajdah reached a climactic spiritual zenith in the preceding segment by offering a definitive definition of the true believer, the one whose sincere, immediate, and humble response to the penetrating truth of the divine verses is the act of prostration sajdah. This ultimate physical and spiritual act of submission serves as the perfect, luminous counterpoint to the intellectual obstinacy and spiritual denial of the guilty ones on the great day of judgment. The surah demonstrated with unwavering clarity that true faith necessitates the complete and total annihilation of the arrogant ego, finding its highest expression in the dust of the ground. Now, as we embark upon this fourth, deeply descriptive, and theologically rich section spanning verses 16 through 20, the celestial camera focuses with exquisite detail not merely on the defining act of the believers, but on their continuous spiritual state and the astonishing boundless magnitude of their eternal reward. It is a breathtaking, eloquent, compelling portrayal of the spiritual excellence attained by those souls who consciously choose to transcend the heavy, gravitational pull of the physical world and dedicate themselves to the intimate, profound, and secret communion with Allah during the most challenging hours. This magnificent, detailed description of the victorious is immediately followed by a stark, absolute, and necessary contrast, where the blissful fate of the righteous is set against the inevitable, tormenting, and cyclical doom of the wicked. This juxtaposition serves to reinforce an unassailable truth that lies at the heart of divine justice. The person whose life is defined by spiritual discipline and the transgressor whose existence is marked by persistent heedlessness and arrogance can never fundamentally be equivalent in the sight of the Creator. The worship of the night and the sacrificial deeds Kanzolaman, Quran, Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration, Chapter 32, verse 16. Their sides leave their beds, they call upon their Lord with fear and hope, and spend from what we have given them. This verse opens with a stroke of literary brilliance, painting one of the most aesthetically and spiritually potent pictures in the entirety of the divine revelation. It describes the precise distinguishing qualities and the continuous, dedicated acts of the exemplary believers, the spiritual elite who have managed to attain the highest degrees of devotion and certainty. The description begins with a powerful, compelling, and intensely physical image that encapsulates the profound essence of their spiritual sacrifice and unyielding dedication. Their sides leave their beds Tahajjud, Janribaham, Aini al-Majeh. The word leave. Tahajjud implies a powerful, sustained, conscious effort, a deliberate exertion of the will to distance oneself from the profound psychological and physical allure of the bed majeh. Universally recognized and powerful symbol of worldly rest, ease, physical indulgence, and forgetfulness. The genuine test of spiritual sincerity is not primarily the acts that are performed in the bright light of the public square, where the gaze of others might be a motivating factor, but in the profound, deeply personal, and secret acts of devotion that are undertaken in the absolute solitude and silence of the night. It is in these lonely, quiet moments, when the overwhelming, compelling inertia of the physical self, the profound desire for rest, and the heavy pull of sleep must be consciously, actively, and successfully overcome by the single-minded will of the soul, that the truest measure of a person's faith is found. This act of forsaking the sweet comfort of sleep for the rigorous discipline of worship is the non-negotiable. It's an unmistakable mark of those souls whose connection, love, and deepest longing for the Creator decisively outweighs the transient, fragile, and temporary pull of the created world. Their physical withdrawal from the bed is an external reflection of their total spiritual withdrawal from the distractions of the world, the powerful, overriding spiritual force that consistently compels them to abandon the comfort of their resting places is then revealed. They call upon their Lord with fear and hope. Their worship, particularly the profound, optional night prayer Tahajjud, is emphatically not a matter of empty, cold, or mechanical rote ritual. Rather, it is the product of a deep, sincere, and perfectly balanced spiritual state. The harmonious equilibrium between fear, kaf, and hope, wama, an, is recognized in Sufi thought as the absolute, non-negotiable hallmark of spiritual maturity. Sen. Fear here is not the raw, base terror of a capricious tyrant, but a profound, reverent, and active awe, of Allah's breathtaking majesty and the necessary. Genuine fear of the grave consequences that may arise from their own inevitable human shortcomings. This healthy, reverent fear functions as the essential spiritual guardrail, actively preventing the onset of destructive complacency and moral transgression. Hope Wama'an is the boundless, sincere, and absolute expectation of Allah's immense, limitless mercy, His infinite forgiveness, and the certainty of His promised reward, which provides the necessary, powerful spiritual fuel for sustained perseverance and continuous tireless effort. Without the spiritual anchor of this hope, the fear would become a paralyzing, destructive despair. Conversely, without the necessary check of fear, the hope would swiftly degenerate into arrogant presumption and corrosive complacency. The sublime, harmonious, and dynamic balance between these two fundamental divine sentiments is what precisely generates pure, sustained, and spiritually enriching devotion. Furthermore, this profound vertical relationship with Allah is immediately and inextricably linked to their horizontal relationship with fellow human beings. And spend from what we have given them, their total immersive devotion does not cease or find its full completion merely with the utterance of prayer, must immediately and seamlessly translate itself directly into active, compassionate, and ethical social virtue. The profound willingness to spend yunfiqin, to give generously of their material wealth, their time, and their effort, is the decisive, practical, undeniable proof that their hearts are not ultimately chained, captured, or paralyzed by the fleeting attractions of the physical world. This spiritual act of charity, in fact, is made conceptually possible only because the resources are first acknowledged, sincerely and humbly, as belonging solely to and being graciously gifted by the Creator Min Ma, Razakinjam. The intense spiritual maturity achieved during the lonely, private worship of the night is thereby authenticated and spiritually completed by the absolute social responsibility of charitable spending, demonstrating a powerful, inseparable unity of ibadah, ritual worship, and muamala ethical dealings with people. The secret reward, unimaginable delight, Kanzeliman, Quran, Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration, chapter 32, verse 17. No living being knows what comfort of the eyes has been kept hidden from them as a recompense for their deeds. Following the inspiring, magnificent description of their dedicated hidden deeds, the powerful act of forsaking sleep, the profound sincerity of their balanced worship, and the compassionate act of charity, the surah now delivers one of the most sublime, majestic, and heart-stirring descriptions of the reward awaiting them in paradise. The verse asserts with absolute authority that the majesty, magnitude, and quality of this eternal recompense completely transcends the totality of finite human experience, limited comprehension, and even the wildest reaches of imagination. No living being knows what comfort of the eyes has been kept hidden from them. The powerful and eloquent phrase, comfort of the eyes, Qaratu Ayun, is a profound, eloquent Arabic idiom that is exclusively reserved to denote the most complete, perfect, and ultimate form of joy, delight, profound tranquility, and spiritual satisfaction. It signifies a sublime, overwhelming happiness that not only permanently satisfies the desires of the soul and the body, but brings an absolute, definitive, and eternal end to all spiritual and physical turmoil, sorrow, and deficiency. It is the peace the heart has always longed for. The profound key to understanding the sheer magnitude of this reward lies embedded within the word hidden F-E-A. The reward is explicitly and deliberately concealed from the entire scope of human experience and perception, making it something that is qualitatively and quantitatively beyond the scope of any possible earthly comparison. All the transient pleasures of this world, the most dazzling, beautiful sights, the most exquisite tastes, the deepest emotional joys, the highest achievements are utterly faint, fragile, and temporary shadows compared to the magnificent, eternal, and profound realities that are reserved for the righteous. This deliberate concealment of the ultimate reward serves multiple critical spiritual functions. Firstly, it powerfully underscores the immense intrinsic value and sanctity of the reward, just as the most precious, priceless treasures are always kept hidden from common view. Secondly, it actively protects the reward from the inevitable limitations, imperfections, and narrow conceptualization of the finite human mind. And thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, it ensures that the believer's most profound, ultimate motivation is not driven by a mere, transient craving for tangible, temporary, current pleasures, but by a higher, purer, and deep spiritual longing for the perfect unseen reward that has been solemnly promised by Allah. Their reward, therefore, will be a perfect, infinite, an eternal match for the rarity, sincerity, and profound hiddenness of their secret, dedicated deeds. The immense discipline and sincerity shown in the darkness and silence of the night is thus repaid with an eternity of boundless light and unimaginable spiritual delight, all directly as a recompense for their deeds. Jazak and Bimd Kahonya Malin. This perfect link between the dedicated spiritual effort and the magnificent ultimate reward beautifully demonstrates the perfect justice, the unerring precision, and the boundless generosity of Allah, Ar-Rahman, and Ar-Rahim. The impossibility of spiritual equality. Kanzel Aman, Quran, Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration. Chapter 32, verse 18. Can he who is a believer be like him who is a sinner? They cannot be alike. Having just presented the luminous, comprehensive, detailed reality of the true believer's continuous state of worship, the surah now introduces a definitive, powerful, and absolutely unassailable rhetorical question that encapsulates a core principle of divine justice and moral reality. It explicitly addresses and decisively invalidates the skeptical or a complacent notion common among those who believe in accidental fate that a person's ultimate eternal destiny is somehow unrelated or irrelevant to their moral and spiritual deeds performed in this world. Can he who is a believer be like him who is a sinner? The word sinner, fāsiq, here refers specifically to one who persistently and willfully deviates from the straight path of truth, one who transgresses against the divine law, and one who continually chooses rebellion over submission, often representing the very personality described in the earlier verses as being arrogant and resolutely denying the meeting of their Lord. The answer to this profound moral query is delivered immediately. With sharp, decisive, and absolute authority, they cannot be alike. La Yeston. This is far more than a mere human opinion or a subjective ethical preference. It is a profound, foundational statement of eternal, divine reality. The principle of equality is utterly and absolutely rejected in the ultimate context of moral and spiritual conduct. The person whose side willingly forsakes his warm bed in the quiet of the night for humble prayer, charity, and reflection, and the person whose entire life is defined by heedless, persistent transgression, arrogance, and the denial of all accountability, are revealed to be fundamentally, essentially, and eternally different beings. The very notion that they could be treated as having an equivalent ultimate standing would itself represent the height of spiritual injustice. This definitive statement serves as a powerful, profound validation of the believer's profound struggle and continuous sacrifice, affirming that their dedicated, sustained effort is utterly meaningful, is necessary, and will be profoundly, permanently rewarded. It also serves as a necessary, stern warning to the complacent, assuring them that ultimate spiritual consequences are entirely real and perfectly proportional to the specific path they have freely, continuously, and knowingly chosen. Kanzo Iman, Quran, Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration, Chapter 32. Verse 19. As for those who have believed and done good works, for them are the gardens for their dwellings. It's an entertainment as a recompense for their deeds. The surah now provides the definitive, positive, and glorious consequence that is explicitly reserved for the first, blessed group, the believers, thereby offering a concrete, magnificent counterpoint and clarification to the preceding general promise of comfort of the eyes. The specific reward is clearly and beautifully stated. As for those who have believed and done good works, for them are the gardens for their dwellings. This reward is explicitly and intrinsically contingent upon the necessary, inseparable spiritual pair that forms the foundation of all virtuous life. Iman, sincere, foundational belief, and amal gli, righteous, observable good works. Genuine, sincere belief must always be authenticated, validated, and expressed through corresponding righteous action. The gardens, Janet, the glorious realms of paradise, are described as their permanent dwellings, their final, eternal, and non-transient abode, not merely a temporary resting spot. It is the final, perfect, and permanent home where they will be received, honored, and cherished. This magnificent, eternal dwelling is further defined as an entertainment, as a recompense for their deeds. The key word, entertainment. Nuzulan refers specifically and beautifully to the special hospitality, the luxurious provisions, and the profound honor that are prepared specifically for a respected, celebrated, and deeply honored guest upon their momentous arrival. This indicates that the believer's entry into paradise is not merely a passive, functional reception, but an active, joyous, and supreme act of profound honoring by the Creator. Once again, the recompense is definitively tied for their deeds, Bim Kahan Ya Malan. Reiterating the principle of divine justice, the reward is a precise, perfect, and infinitely generous culmination of the sincere efforts, the conscious struggles, and the dedicated worship they exerted during their brief, fleeting worldly life. Every single act of sincere charity, every single prayer uttered in the dead of the night, and every single moment of honest, deep reflection finds its infinite, perfect reward in this eternal, boundless hospitality from Allah. The fate of the transgressor. Eternal despair, Kanzalaman, Quran, Surah As-Sajdah, the Prostration. Chapter 32, verse 20. But as for those who have adopted evil, their abode shall be the fire. Whenever they try to get out of it, it will be put back into it, and it will be said to them, taste now the torment of the fire, which you used to deny. In a chilling, visceral, and necessary contrast to the magnificent, endless reward of the believers, the surah now paints the ultimate, terrifying, and definitive fate of the second group, the unrepentant transgressors, to fully emphasize the absolute spiritual separation established, with such authority in verse 18. But as for those who have adopted evil, their abode shall be the fire. The phrase adopted evil, fāsiq, refers to those who willfully rejected belief, persisted in their state of spiritual transgression, and whose hearts and actions were dominated by the spiritual defects of arrogance and denial. Their eternal abode, their permanent destination, and inescapable resting places, definitively and irrevocably, the fire nar. The verse then introduces the horrifying element of eternal hopelessness that defines the severity and psychological terror of their punishment. The guilty will desperately, frantically, and repeatedly attempt to escape their consuming torment whenever they try to get out of it. They will be put back into it. This is a devastating description of eternal, agonizing frustration, a cyclical, never-ending, and perfectly tailored torment that utterly shatters all fleeting hope of relief, rest, or escape. Every failed, desperate attempt to escape only serves to deepen and solidify the certainty of their doom and their absolute helplessness. This absolute hopelessness is reinforced by the devastating final verbal judgment that is delivered directly to them, and it will be said to them, now the torment of the fire which you used to deny. This ultimate, precise command to taste the fire connects directly back to the earlier command in verse 14. The fundamental reason for their eternal torment is revealed to be their own persistent, willful denial, kuntum bihi, tukadi born, of the truth, the clear signs, and the unambiguous warnings that were sent to them throughout their lives. The ultimate punishment is not arbitrary.
Yes.
It is the perfect, just, and inescapable consequence of their free, deliberate rejection of the ultimate reality of Allah, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim's warnings, and the subsequent abandonment of their purpose. The eternal torment is revealed to be the very truth they spent their entire worldly lives trying, in vain, to deny and evade. The hadith on the virtue of night vigil Tahajjud, the sublime description of the believers in verse 16, whose sides willingly leave their beds to engage in spiritual communion with a perfect balance of fear and hope, highlights the extraordinary, immense spiritual value of the night vigil, or prayer Tahajjud. This secret devotion, conducted away from the eyes of the world, is the defining, authenticating signature of the true, sincere believer. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, the best prayer after the obligatory prayers is the prayer offered in the depth of the night. And the best fasting after the month of Ramadan is the fasting of the month of Allah al-Muharram. Sahih Muslim, Hadith 1163. This profound hadith beautifully and perfectly validates the immense spiritual emphasis that is placed upon nocturnal devotion in Surah As-Sajdah. The depth of the night is the time of ultimate quietude, and the noise and distractions of the world are at their absolute minimum. The spiritual connection between the servant and the Creator is most direct, intimate, and profoundly unhindered. This unique time of worship, when the devoted believers consciously forsake their natural rest and their physical comfort for the sake of the Creator, is considered the most superior and rewarding form of voluntary prayer, offering an unparalleled opportunity for spiritual ascent, purification of the heart, and profound closeness. It is precisely in this profound solitude and in this active spiritual struggle that the heart achieves the required perfect balance of fear and hope, perfectly preparing the soul to be deemed worthy of the magnificent, unimaginable comfort of the eyes that has been kept secretly hidden for them. The continuous, dedicated practice of this rigorous prayer beautifully embodies the essential, supreme characteristics of the true believer: profound humility, relentless patience, a powerful sense of accountability, and an overwhelming profound love for Allah, Ar-Rahman, and Ar-Rahim. Let us now supplicate, drawing from the profound lessons of these verses, asking Allah to grant us a deeper understanding and to guide our every step. O Allah, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, strengthen our faith to be of those whose sides willingly and with great love leave their beds for your sacred intimate remembrance, calling upon you with a perfect, sustaining balance of profound, reverent fear and sincere absolute hope in your vast, boundless mercy. Accept our meager attempts at charity and allow us to spend generously and wisely from the pure sustenance you have bestowed upon us, seeking only your pleasure. Make us truly worthy of the supreme hidden comfort of the eyes that no living soul knows, and by your ultimate grace, never allow us to be counted among the transgressors, whose final abode is the consuming fire. Preserve us from the everlasting, inescapable torment and the devastating despair of seeking an escape that will never be granted, so that we may enter your magnificent gardens as your highly honored, cherished guests, forever in your presence. May Allah illuminate your heart and mind with the light of this divine ill. May He make your channel a beacon of guidance for all who seek spiritual clarity and truth. May your efforts be a source of immense reward, and may you be granted the highest stations of paradise. May the peace and blessings of Allah always be upon you and your loved ones. May He grant you unwavering steadfastness on the path of truth. And may your work be a testament to His magnificent names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Amin.